This episode of the Talking Life podcast is brought to you by, oh, wait a minute, it's brought to you by no one. We don't have any sponsors because no one knows how awesome we are yet.
But today we're going to be bringing you, let's see, we have a special guest today. We are talking about SC Comicon, which is this weekend. Woot woot. Alfonso is going to talk to you about some March Madness. How crazy is that? And who knows, we'll probably ramble on a little bit more than that. But first up, we have a special guest today. He is I would say, I guess, the leader of this local gaming chapter. His name is James Logic's Hobday. Welcome, man.
How's it going, guys?
Hey,
So, tell us a little bit about the gaming group.
Team Densetsu is actually we decided to name it a club because the term clan and esports team tends to turn people off, and esports team is kind of like a brand for established competitive teams that have already competed or won or whatever. So we decided to brand it as a club. And the club actually is kind of like a biker setup, in terms of a bike club. Each chapter is, per state. So, there's one in Reno, that's the Nevada chapter. I happen to be the president of the South Carolina chapter. And essentially it's really about casual and competitive gaming, and mostly gaming and anime focus. So we kind of cover a couple different grounds, from hardware for computers to basic technology kind of updates in terms of esports teams, from Call of Duty, Dota, League of Legends, StarCraft, and Halo. Our primary focus is obviously Halo in terms of competitive sense, but realistically, it's all really just about any gamers at all. We like gamers. We want people to enjoy what they do. We want to have walkthroughs for every game, and be able to help just really create a network of gamers in general. There's a Boise group in Boise, Idaho. There's a group there. There's a group in Florida now that's starting to be established. So we'll take a look at those groups in a couple months and decide if they're ready to become full-fledged chapters. In which case, we'll have to elect the president. We found a pretty cool method to identify the presidents and the vice presidents, actually, that kind of ties in with the anime theme. For anybody that's watched Naruto, the Akatsuki rings. Each president and vice president holds an Akatsuki ring. So there's actually two residing here in South Carolina, and that's with myself and Scott Fireburn Soulsby, which is pretty cool. It was a pretty clever idea. It ties in a little bit of our geekiness, a little bit of our gaming side at the same time, and it gives us something somewhat official without being too serious. As you guys probably know, clans, especially in the terms of console gaming, they don't work out that well because the term clan is just, it's like an instant turn off, So
especially here in the South.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's an instant turn off there. So we came up with the idea of a club, and we want everything from streamers, podcasters, and really anybody. We don't want to change what people are doing. We want them to keep doing it as long as everybody's mature, respectful, and basically just doesn't overstep their bounds. Each chapter is pretty individual. The Reno chapter is the founding chapter, and then South Carolina is basically the second founding chapter. And we pretty much do our own thing. We're getting shirts in. I'm actually about to order a bunch of shirts today, which will be pretty cool. We're going to Iron Gaming Atlanta to compete in Halo, and that's on April 17th. So glad they finally got a tournament nearby. We had a couple people that said they were going to, if we got the shirts in fast enough, they would go to the SC Comicon, but they're not going to be in fast enough. So some people are going, but they're not repping the shirts yet. But that's, and stuff like, Comic-Con's a big deal. There's a bunch of different branches. I'm glad it's here in South Carolina. When was the last time it was in South Carolina? Do you even remember?
The last Comic-Con in South Carolina, man, it's been forever. Now, yeah. I don't consider, because you remember last year and the year before we had MonsterCon. I don't really consider that a Comic-Con because they didn't market it as a Comic-Con.
As an official Comic-Con, yeah, exactly.
Right. I would say the last Comic-Con we had was early 90s.
Yeah, it's been a long time, and we were young when that happened, I was born in 91, so we were pretty young when that happened. I wasn't even in South Carolina at that time. But, really, Densetsu, the name itself, Densetsu, which is probably what it'll change to from Team Densetsu to just Densetsu, which is apparently Japanese for legend. There's some different variations of that we found, but so far we just decided to kind of stick with that. It's a good brand. We've really started to establish a name for ourselves. We have a pretty big network. There's probably about 10 to maybe 13 people in Reno. There's about 10 to 15 people here in South Carolina. There's about 5 people in Florida and about 9 people in Idaho alone. And these are just the main players. These aren't necessarily anybody that's kind of on the forums. We have a website that's, we wanted to hand build it. Goku has done a lot of work with that, which is awesome. He's pretty big. We wanted to kind of go away from the stereotypical forums that everybody has. We wanted it more just like an easy flowing chat system. But as everybody knows, websites are notoriously difficult to get together. So that's it's a work in progress. But we do have Facebook and we do have Twitter and just Team Densetsu, all that. It's pretty good. It's pretty awesome. I'm glad to finally have an established name and established brand that we can kind of rally behind and start utilizing a lot of the talent that, especially here in South Carolina, there was a lot of talent that just wasn't being utilized. And, I decided to take that step forward and say, hey, let's rally. Let's get behind a single name instead of being behind, 6 or 7 different names and dividing ourselves. So, that's kind of our goal, is really just unify the different groups in every area that try to compete instead of us taking over. We basically just want them to be a part of us. We don't want to control your content. We don't want to control what you do, what you say, or anything, as long as you're, mature, professional, and, we're all pretty immature in terms of kids, but, obviously you got to have limits. So, that's pretty much where we stand. We're just trying to get, everything unified and get some more marketing done. We're going to get a website, professional graphics and that kind of thing is the next step. So, that's really what we're about. And, I'm glad to be here on the podcast. That's awesome. We love doing this kind of stuff and be more than happy to help in any way we can.
No, yeah, it's awesome to have you on. We're actually we're going to be probably doing 1 to 2 podcasts a week, and it'd be great to have you on maybe once a month to kind of talk about where the club's going and trying to see where you're advancing, the different events that you've got going on for the month and things like that. But just let them know. Just let them know how to get in touch with you guys. Give them some
definitely,
some
man.
information.
It's teamdensetsu.com. Densetsu is D as in David, E as in Eric, N as in Nancy, Set, S-E-T as in Thomas, SU.com. And same thing for the Twitter. Just Twitter handles at Team Densetsu, one word. And anytime you need to get a hold of anybody, if you can't figure that out, if it's too complicated, you can always hit me up. On Twitter, Logix TFK, the Forever King abbreviated, LOG1KZ, T as in Thomas, F as in Frank, K. Hit me up on Twitter. I'm more than happy to help. More than happy to kind of get people on board on what we're all about. We're not about trying to milk donations or anything like that. That's not what we're about. The presidents of each chapter will really, handle how they come about with funding. And so we're not just one of those groups that wants you on board to use you for what you have. We want to basically help unleash your potential in terms of using the group to support people and YouTube videos and that kind of thing, and just really kind of get content out there, help people, do what we want to do for, fun, and kind of turn it into something else and turn it into something a little bit more that we can all kind of rally behind.
Yeah, that's awesome. But yeah, just to give you guys a little background history on James here, me and him have known each other for, dude, how long have we known each other? It's been about 8 years, 9 years?
About 8 years, 8-9 years.
Let me tell you about James, guys. Since the day I met him, he has been all about video gaming. You couldn't tell him nothing about games that he didn't already know. Because we used to hang out in this little spot where we went to high school.
Yep.
What was it called? Fat Island or something?
Yeah, Fat Island.
Dude, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, stretching my memory there.
Yeah. But since day one, I met James, man. He's always been about video games. He's always had a lot of potential from what I saw. And now, you're doing something, which is awesome to see that you've actually you started where you were with just being interested in it, and now you're actually like out there with it, and people actually know who you are.
Yeah,
Um,
it's been a long road, a lot of ups and downs as always. I had a good string back when competitive COD on the PC was still a thing, and playing on some of the top teams in the world, just never quite got all the way up there. It was never anybody big, just enough money to kind of get by and eventually save up for a car. But you know, really, when PC COD died, I didn't really want to proceed with past Call of Duty 4 and Modern Warfare 2. I just didn't really want to do anything more than that because the game just wasn't to my liking anymore. It got too much about closing the skill gap. The time to kill was almost instantaneous, and we just disagreements in that, and not wanting to proceed in that direction. So we just, I decided to go into retirement. It wasn't too long after that, Scott Soulsby actually showed me Halo, which I had obviously played. I had played a ton of it, but he showed me, competitive Halo, and I guess I just had kind of ignored it, other than watching it every now and then and seeing some like the top names. And ever since then, I just kind of fell in love with it, and couldn't have the funding to get through to where we wanted to get to and go to tournaments until recently. So now, now that we're a little older, we're really trying to hit the scene and see what's good and try to be the best that we can be and help other people along the way.
and dude, it's awesome to see this because, I mean, if you look at it now, gaming, gaming 10, 15 years ago was not nearly this broad
Oh
of,
man.
like it was very closed doors. Like, who played video games, and then you knew everyone else who didn't. But now, I mean, with the way video games are just so far out there, you have so many and I hate that it's become such a negative term online, but you have so many casual gamers.
Yeah.
Hey,
You know,
I have a question.
Yeah.
Uh, Charles didn't properly introduce us. I'm Alfonso, by the way. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Alfonso. Nice to meet you, man.
Uh, um, what is the biggest misconception of the gaming community that you want to dispel?
Um, the negativity, especially in games like Call of Duty, and really even a lot of times the Halo community as well. You go online and you, let's say you go online, play Call of Duty. I'd say at least half the people in there just do nothing but just talk shit, and that it's such a huge turnoff for a lot of, especially in the competitive sense. A lot of people don't pay attention to some of the competitive scenes because it's just, it's so negative. Especially a lot of the communities are just so negative about everything. But that's, to me, that's just the way everything is. If you look at football and even soccer and all this other thing, all these other sports, there's always these negative people, and myself included. Until I got a little bit older, a lot of negativity and anger and arrogance and stuff in my life, and you know people like this, that in this community, really kind of help change that, and other communities as well, uh, really help change all that, make me better, not only just them but
Hmm.
myself. uh, but communities are really positive, man. You just, you have to be willing to take that step, especially in terms of competitive. There's another big one that's kind of, I guess you would say, that's tied, is that oh, there's no hope for me in competitive gaming. That's not true. Having that mindset, you're going to be defeated automatically. But take a page out of Bruce Lee's book, and just, if it's something you want, you just got to go for it. Just do it. You have to want it more than you want sleep, and that's kind of where I got to, so that I could start helping people out and doing this. Is you got to want something more than you want sleep. So don't be afraid to try to compete in a video game just because you think it's impossible to get there. You know, that's how upsets happen. League of Legends, Dota 2, and all of them. People are like, it's hopeless. And, the crowd of as you guys probably know, League of Legends Dota too. That's almost impossible to break into the pro scene. It's just
Yeah.
it's insane. There's so much. The gauntlet to get there is almost impossible to do it. But you just have to, study and treat it like a job essentially, but in a fun way. Don't treat it as a job and like, oh, I've got to get up and do this. No, you gotta treat it like, I'm going to go to work. I'm going to work, come home, eat, stretch, do a light workout, hop on, game for this long, shower, go to bed, rinse, repeat. You know, and then that's it, man. Like that's how you got to do it. So don't be afraid to take that step and try to be a competitive gamer just because of negativity. You got to keep that positive mindset and really want it and go for it.
Cool, cool. Now,
Yeah.
we're starting to see a huge influx of females in the gaming, which I think is a great thing.
Yeah.
Um, Now, as far as the harassment you were talking about online, is it still like a big thing as far as female gamers being harassed more so, or is it
That
equal?
that's a great point, man. I'm actually kind of glad you brought that up. Uh, you know, there's always going to be, and that becomes a societal thing where people can kind of debate the reasons for that. I can't tell you the actual reasons, but I can tell you, like, um, what's going on or what my opinions are. Uh, you know, really, it is there. There's always the negativity. I mean, there's always the harassment. You know, it's always going to be there. People are scumbags, men and women. It's not just restricted to one gender, but obviously, society has kind of sexualized the female body, and that's just something that I think a lot of people, as a female gamer, yeah, it is probably pretty tough out there. At the same time, it's very easy to, it is very possible to utilize that as well. There are some female gamers that openly admit to, utilizing their gender and in some ways their sexuality in order to obtain stream viewers, that kind of thing. Some of the
Mm,
highest viewers that aren't competitive are women or female, and not just men that watch it as well, but also, also women, just because, it is generally speaking more attractive to watch a woman commentate on games or listen to a female voice than a man's. And obviously, it's opinions, but generally speaking, most people will tend to listen to a woman on a gaming channel than a man. But it's doable. It's definitely doable. And it's not impossible. It is probably going to be pretty rough. I'm not going to sit here and say it's not, but it's doable, and there's a much larger presence in the female competitive scene as well. So it's doable. You just you got to realize that it's going to be a problem. There's always going to be problems like that, but that's not a gaming problem. It's a society problem.
okay, cool, great
Now,
answer.
James, talking about the social status in video games. You were mentioning how the female gamers and stuff use their assets to get viewers and things like that. Speaking on that subject, let's flip side to the whole get your opinion on the whole Gamergate thing. Um, I mean, I know there's been mixed emotions about it. There's been gray areas, and there's been black and white. But starting off, the whole exploitation of the female body in video games. I mean, how do you feel about that?
Um, you know, it's a kind of a double-edged sword in some ways. If if the if society is going to portray women in a sexual way in a negative asset, um, you know, the two things that'll come out of it are kind of, one of them's okay, one of them's not okay. The downside of women actually utilizing that to further themselves instead of being put under the scrutiny and sexist kind of ways. Uh, that's that's one outcome. Using that to kind of basically kind of say, you guys are trying to sexualize us. You guys are trying to, put us in an image we don't necessarily want. So we're going to abuse it so that you know, basically like screw you to them. And obviously the negative aspect of that is it's going to continue, for example, Kim Kardashian, you're basically going to continue this cycle of negative influence, what about her children? You know, they see this, and well, she can basically get away with it because she's utilizing her sexual ability and prowess to essentially tweak what she wants, you know, and get what she wants out of it, and further her career and everything by essentially using her sexual influence to get what she wants, or get the attention that she wants and the money she wants. So it's very negative in a lot of ways. Um, but at the same time, it, it's already, women are already kind of, in that sense, women are already so put down in society that it's kind of like, you kind of have to in some ways. At the same time, I feel like Emma Watson's a great example of how to do it right. So, for reference, use what she says. Equal rights is not, uh, you know, equal rights is not uh, special rights. That's the wording. Equal rights is not special rights, and that's something I'm big on for race, sexual, anything, sexism, and religious preference. Equal rights is not special rights. So, I guess that's how I'd wrap it up. Equal rights is not special rights. So don't, if you have it and you got it, it's who you are. I can't. It's kind of a 50-50. Sometimes I feel like you should, and sometimes I feel like you shouldn't.
Right. Now, the biggest name right now in game criticism because of Gamergate, Anita Sarkeesian. Have you ever seen any of her videos about her rants about video games?
I have not actually had the time to do that. I have heard a good bit about it though, so it's interesting. Um, I disagree with a lot of what she says, obviously, in terms of some of the basics. It's really, like I said, this isn't necessarily, the Gamergate's kind of a thing, but at the same time, it's more of like, I'd say it's more about a society thing again than you know really anything else. It's a society problem, not necessarily a gaming problem. But
Right.
the gaming industry definitely doesn't help.
Right.
Well, I have a point to make, whether I don't know how valid it is, but we all like a certain aesthetic, right? I mean, it's video games. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be fantasy. What's more fun? A scantily clad babe kicking the crap out of a monster or a guy 10 times their size, or a fully clothed woman in like mom jeans and a sweater doing the same thing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and the aesthetic. What is aesthetically pleasing to the human eye? Obviously it varies from person to person in opinion. But in terms of like Dead or Alive is probably one of the biggest ones. Dead or Alive, tech fighting games in general. Uh, the big joke about certain skins in League of Legends, they call it the League of Porn. Uh, Stuff like that. Obviously in every Dead or Alive game, their boobs just get bigger and bigger and bigger. I swear. But it is. You can't sit there and deny that most people would probably prefer to see that. To an extent, obviously, depending on your opinion and that kind of thing. But what it really, like I said, what it really boils down to is just making sure that there has to be some kind of line where it's just too much, and it becomes too provocative,
Yeah.
without at the same time without trying to control the people and what they want. Uh, so I don't know. It can it can go either way. Some people don't look that far into it. Like people like me, I don't really. As long as my character is cool, like if you're trying to go for a game that's more realistic, most women don't walk around like that. They don't walk around scantily clad, or
Yeah.
so it depends on the situation in the game. Fighting games, obviously, you can probably get away with it more, but Laura Croft is a good example. She's not always scantily clad. She wears pretty normal outfits. Yes, they do draw attention to the fact that she's, kind of sexy and badass because she's sexy and empowered and badass and doesn't take this, like, doesn't take any crap from anybody. So, and works hard to get to where she wants to do, and it's tough. So that's different. Like that's a type of, attraction of personality and the actual aesthetically pleasing sense as well. So, it's interesting, but I don't know. I have to kind of agree with you. It is definitely probably more entertaining and more visually pleasing to see somebody, a woman dress a little more scantily clad than mom jeans and a heavy sweater.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna dump millions of dollars into creating, a video game, that's what you would put your money on.
Yeah,
Nobody's gonna pay $60 for a game just to see a average, female when they can
yeah,
look at Laura Croft.
yeah, and
But
that's definitely like I said, that's a society kind of thing as well. Not necessarily negative, but it's just that is a factor of society.
I say to make things even, you make the men scantily clad. You have them run around in speedos.
Thank you. I agree. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, to make things, and that I think that would really start changing a lot of people's perspective as well, because the majority, and the problem is the majority of gamers are male. They are some recent results have showed that there's a lot of women playing, and that's not necessarily true. And I'm like, you know what? Go find me a couple of female gamers in my state that play at the level that I play at. I'm not talking like, or even like half the level that I play at. I'm not talking just some really, really, for lack of a better term, and I kind of hate this term, but a really casual player. You know, it that doesn't just somebody who picks up a game 2 to 5 times a month in comparison to somebody who plays a game every day, even if it's only for like 30 minutes to an hour.
Yeah.
That's different. So, but yeah, I mean, I guess in a way, it's like why can't the women have that option, for their character, or for those of them who, for the guys who happen to be gay, like I have nothing wrong with that as long as you just leave me alone, and you know, I don't go around saying how heterosexual I am. I don't need you rubbing it in my face how lesbian or homosexual you are. And I think everybody should just do their own thing as long as you don't make somebody feel uncomfortable. And you know, if women want that in their games, then that should be a valid exception. I agree. That should be totally a thing that should be available to them. Alternative costumes for females and female gamers so that they can get what they want. Same thing how we kind of get what we want.
Yeah, and I think the most difficult part of that is the fact that video gaming for the longest time has, because it has been a male dominated, a male dominated thing. It's hard for females to voice their opinion. But on the flip side of that, there's so few big time female gamers that when they do voice their opinion, it actually gets out there because there's just so few of them. When it comes to big time male gamers, there's just so many of them that they could voice their opinion, but it could get drowned out by somebody else who had either the same or different opinion than that.
Yeah,
And I
that's
mean,
a big point too.
I mean, they
Sure.
talk about how they don't get the opportunity to voice themselves, but there's so few of them out there that when they do say something, I'm telling you, it gets heard because there's feedback to it. They may not like the feedback they get, but they are getting feedback.
Yeah, so it's really just a miswording on their part. It's not that you're not getting feedback. It's just that you're getting either a negative feedback, which doesn't necessarily mean a disagreement in their opinion. It means somebody's like harassing them or just being a troll or just negative in general, like fuck you, screw that, all that kind of thing. But which is wrong. I don't. I think that kind of flaming and saltiness is something that is a big problem in gaming, as well. And just in competitive sense and non-competitive sense, it's just everybody just talks so much shit. Everybody is so negative and so brutal that it's just like, man, sometimes it is a problem. It really is, especially I think in the younger generations. And like I said, the low-level competitive teams, so like amateurs to top am, big. It is a big problem.
Now,
No,
do
yeah,
do you guys your club? Do you guys have a code of conduct?
Yeah, we are actually fine tuning the whole thing, so it's on like a printable, like piece of paper. Essentially, it's a code book. Uh, you know, obviously no sexual harassment, that kind of thing, and really the base rules and how I've always put that kind of stuff is there's some things that have opinions. Everybody's allowed to have opinions on, but there's some things that, in my opinion, you just, again, I'm just vocalizing it, but there's some things that aren't opinions. For example, beheading children of a different belief than you is not the right thing. I don't care what belief you are. I don't care what you say. There is no justification for murdering innocent people. I don't care. There's no reason. There's no way you'll ever be able to convince me otherwise. Like and I don't mean that in a stubborn way. I just mean that it's very obviously not the right thing to do. I don't care what religion you are. There's no reason you can justify killing innocent people. Extremists from uh, any end, any religion, it shouldn't even be tolerated, and it's not fair. It's not really to them or yourself. And yeah, that kind of stuff is definitely, it bugs me. It does bug me a good bit. I won't lie. You just can't be doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's there's a limit. There's, like I said, some things are opinions. Did he make the right decision to buy that stock, or do this with the company? That's to be seen. That's opinions. But
Yeah.
stuff like raping somebody or murdering someone, taking somebody's life without them trying to take yours or cause you harm or anything like that is wrong. I don't that there's no, oh, that's just your opinion. No, well, that's a fact. That's just wrong.
Right.
It's just wrong. So, it's a strange topic, man. It is. There's a lot of different opinions about it, but I think everybody should just take it from a logical perspective. What Everybody should be allowed to do whatever they want to do, so long as it does not impede the ability of somebody else to do the same thing, regardless of what that thing is. If somebody's
Yeah.
doing heroin or crack, but they have no family, they have nothing, like they have no friends, they don't have a job, they don't worry about anything. It literally affects nobody. The person they're buying it from is not like a cartel drug lord trying to kill people and all that kind of stuff, et cetera, et cetera. That then, obviously that kind of stuff shouldn't even really, who cares? It's bad. Yes, I disagree with it. I think it's a stupid idea. I think you're wasting your life, but, uh, you know, it, that's just as long as it's not negatively impacting somebody else or preventing them from living the life they want to live, then so it's like I said, it's touchy, but I think everybody should be able to come to some kind of basic common ground.
I have another question.
Hmm.
Gaming has always been associated with geek culture,
Hmm.
but as time goes on, because as more and more people start to get into gaming,
Yeah.
they're not necessarily into comic books or movies, or they're not necessarily very smart. Does I mean, do you even consider yourself part of the geek community? And do you feel like do you feel like a sense of ownership on as a if you are a geek, would you feel like a sense of ownership over the term gamer, or are you just do you have the mindset of the more the merrier?
Um,
Because there are a lot of gamers out there that don't associate with the geek community, but they just love the
yeah.
game.
I that's another good. That's another really good question. Definitely enjoying that. I like having people toss me questions like this. It's
Thanks.
for that kind of thing, I believe that there are numerous. A geek is just somebody who has delved into one particular or one small group of topics thoroughly, in my opinion. That's no fact, obviously. I'm not the end all say all, but there's car geeks, there's muscle heads, there's workout geeks. I don't care what anybody says. There's fitness geeks, there's book geeks, there's tech geeks, there's hardware geeks, there's software geeks, gaming geeks, anime geeks. You can fall under numerous categories or just a couple of them. Geek is just a broad term of somebody who's invested a large amount of their time and studies and effort into just a small group or collective of things.
Okay. I never thought about it like that. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a bunch of different. Uh, there's definitely a bunch of different variations of the term geek. So you can definitely play games and not be a geek. There's plenty of people that are. Just you might not be a gaming geek. My father barely plays games at all. When he does, it's very, very rare, 2 to 5 times a year playing Madden or something. But he's a pilot, a former Air Force pilot. Now he's a commercial airline. So there you go from there. Like he's technically a pilot geek, I guess you would say. He loves flying. He likes all that stuff. So that's a different type of geek. He likes stocks. There's political geeks. So I think that the term geek is definitely losing a lot of its negativity and the connotation of it.
Yeah.
And I think it could afford to lose a little more. Honestly, I would not be opposed to losing a little bit more of that negative connotivity and see, the term geek really not. I don't know. It's not bad. When I tell people I'm a geek, I do this. I do gaming and networking and stuff. People don't look at me different anymore like they used to.
Now, you're a huge Halo fan, right?
Yes.
Okay. How did you feel about Bungie not doing Halo anymore?
Most of the original crew, it's about a 50-50 split. About 50% of the people uh, left 343, what is now 343, and left with Bungie, including a lot of the head developers and designers and everything. And Bungie essentially sold their souls from one company to another, in my opinion, and they very obviously regret that. They're backtracking hardcore now. They obviously went to Activision, and Activision pulled a lot of strings on Destiny. If anybody, you can research it. I won't go into full detail. Essentially, they created a lot more content like they promised, and they changed a lot of things, like attachments on the gun and everything, weren't like through a menu. You look down on your gun and a hologram would appear over your gun. You could actually change the stock of each weapon and like stats on the weapon and that kind of thing. And Activision dumbed it down because it was too complex, and they wanted to appeal to a younger crowd, and complexity would kind of take things away from that.
Hmm.
So Bungie not doing Halo, not necessarily a bad thing, but how 343 launched, obviously Halo 4 was just like, you know, they kind of just scrapped together the last bit of stuff they could for the last gen for the 360 console, and they basically had already pushed the 360 console to the limit, and it looked great. The campaign cinematics were just out of control. The game itself still looked pretty good, but the cinematics were truly like wow, like mind blowing. And then for them to work with a whole bunch of companies in the Halo 2 Anniversary remake, the cinematics in that game are the best I've ever seen ever. I think that wins hands down for the best cinematic graphics of all time. But uh, you know, they definitely flopped on a lot of things, and it wasn't necessarily the game itself so much as the servers. And although Halo works, and I want to make sure everybody understands that Master Chief Collection works now. Well, it works well now, not just it works. It works really well now. It is alive. It is there. They don't. They are trying to cover it all up. Um, B. Dobbins had a great video summarizing all that. Batman Dobbins. He basically just kind of pointed the finger at 343. Don't say, "Oh, thank you 343 for all the support," just because competitive Halo is alive and they finally fixed the problems of the game that they should have. He used the comparison of paying for your food and not getting your food until 100 days later. Are you satisfied with that service? No, hell no.
Mm-mm.
We should be pissed. We should be furious, but we should also no, not in a negative way. We should be pissed in a like, you fix this or we're not buying Halo 5 kind of way. Fix Master Chief
Right.
Collection first, then we'll worry about Halo 5. Dice, as you guys probably know, had a pretty bad launch with Battlefield 4. Uh, that game was a disaster when it hit the market.
Yeah,
Dice,
their multiplayer just was garbage. Like
oh
server problems,
yeah,
exploitations, just
Master Chief Collection's launch made Dice's launch look like it went smooth. That's how
yeah,
bad it was. It was awful. And Dice did the one thing 343 and Microsoft. It's the same. It's the same. They are not contracted to Microsoft. It is Microsoft. They did not. Dice did the one thing 343 did. They stopped working Battlefield Hardline. they canceled one of the big things that they were working on the side, like just completely canceled it because they were not going to be able to get anywhere with it, and dedicated 100% of studio manpower to fixing Battlefield 4. And that's why Battlefield 4 works now. That's why Battlefield 4 is actually functional and doing really well. And Hardline came out, and now it's actually really good because they actually listened and paid attention, which is shocking for EA. But actually paying attention and doing the right thing. 343, not only did they kind of just say, well, we'll give you one or two really kind of remade maps that nobody really gives a crap about and doesn't do anything for our frustration, and ODST, but they're not including firefight. So they're doing like a 60 FPS 1080p firefight or a ODST campaign, but they're not giving us firefight, and that's their supposedly gift for us having problems. And they gave us 30 days of Xbox Live. Well, you're 100 days out, and we still can't play your game that we paid $60 for. I paid over that. I paid $75 to get some extra content. And
Right.
can't say much because Bungie did the same thing to me. Bungie, I paid $100 for the limited edition of Destiny. I was mad I couldn't get the $150 version, but now I'm glad I did because that game was nothing like it was supposed to be. So I'm kind of okay with Bungie, or with 343 taking it because I have high hopes for 5, but I will say that if they don't produce or put out, I'm done. I will definitely abandon ship.
Now,
Can't blame.
yeah. Now talking about Destiny, me and you both play Destiny side by side. You on the Xbox One, me on the 360.
Mm-hmm.
Now the comparison between the two games, I've seen it. The graphics there's actually a significant difference in the graphics quality on each console.
Yeah.
Now here's my question for you. How did you feel about Bungie jumping on the MMO scene, giving us a game, giving us all this content, but only allowing us to play a little bit of it?
I was okay with them jumping in the MMO scene. I had faith in them because they had delivered one of my favorite games of all time, Halo, which is, revolutionized console FPS gaming. That is the only reason console FPS gaming is even alive, is because of Halo, and then eventually Ghost Recon and Rainbow Six. But so Ubisoft essentially, and then with them doing that, it really wasn't. We started to find out. I was very upset. I was furious with Bungie. I had pretty much quit and gave up on them until we started doing more research. We started reading the contract between them and Activision, and we realized very quickly that this was not a problem with Bungie, that this had become a problem with Activision, and Activision had pulled the strings on this. That Bungie wanted to release all this crazy amount of content, but Activision basically told them, no, we're going to sell that as DLC. And if you noticed, every single story mission of the ridiculously horrible story that there is, in terms of the campaign levels, the actual story is great. If you have the time, go read the grimoire cards. There's plenty of videos on YouTube that actually explain a lot of it. It's epic. It's really epic. It was everything I wanted from Bungie and more. And then, you go up in every level. You go up, you put your ghost down, defend 3 waves. Go up, put your ghost down, defend 3 waves. Every single level, and then the strikes, you get to the boss, it takes forever because they're bullet sponges, and then you're done. So it was a huge letdown. I can't say that I wasn't having fun with Destiny until you maxed out, and then every time I max out, I get bored. But I will say that the coolest thing they ever did, and the only thing that really saves its merit, because I think the multiplayer is atrocious. It's a really bad Call of Duty, which I didn't think was possible. But essentially what they did is they created the raids, and the raids are awesome because it's not really so much about a ridiculous bullet sponge that just won't die and you have to shoot it 5 trillion times. Atheon kind of, but not. You can still wipe him pretty easily. It's tactical. You can actually get beat because it's tactically difficult, not because they're bullet sponges and there's too many of them and you get overwhelmed. So it's raids are awesome.
Yeah, I actually managed to get into one right before I quit.
Destiny LFG, man. That'll save you'll run every raid in like a week. So, but yeah, that's I'm excited for Destiny 2 because Activision has less control over it, and Destiny they only had control over the first like 2 or 3 expansions, I think, and then Activision basically has his hands off after that, which is good. We'll start seeing there's a free DLC that's coming after House of Wolves, which is great. The free raid, free strikes, all the new gear, etc. They're balancing out the levels. I will say the updates that they've done is very impressive. They have shown that they've basically, to me, they've proven that yes, it was Activision and no, it was not Bungie. So overall, launch 5 out of 10. As it stands now, 8 out of 10. What it could have been, 20 out of 10, hands down.
Okay.
I
Well,
have another
James.
question.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
I don't want to take too much of your time, but dude, I could talk to you all day about video games.
That's cool,
Uh,
man. I love talking about games. I'm here for about another. How long have we been here? I got about another 15 minutes. That works.
okay. The last video game I played was Mass Effect 3,
Oh
and
man.
I was so bummed out by the ending. I was depressed for about 2 months.
Oh man.
I didn't want it to end. I love that game. That's my
Yeah,
all-time favorite game.
that's up there. It's top 3 for me, man.
How do you feel about the ending?
Uh, I love Mass Effect, man. I I never played the first one. I won't lie, and I think it's because it was kind of like Assassin's Creed 1. Very story's great. It's just the first of its kind, so really, and it just the controls just weren't fine tuned enough because it was so new. Nobody had really done it. But
Hmm.
Mass Effect 2, and obviously if you go play them now, the graphics and movement look weird because we play all these awesome games at 60 FPS and stuff now. But if you're lucky enough to have a powerful enough computer, you know, go mod the textures out of go mod the hell out of it. It looks great, at 4K textures, not necessarily 4K resolution, but 4K textures. Everything just looks so crisp, so good. They change. There's a bunch of mods that are really easy to install, and they change everything and make it look great. Your movement's better. It's smoothed out. Uh, I loved it, man. The ending was like it just. Oh man, it may leave you wanting more, but it was everything that I wanted out of that game because I like games to come to some kind of um, some kind of finale of some sort, some kind of conclusion or pinnacle, so to speak. And just
Yeah.
spoiler alert, just at the end, when you have to make the decision based off of the decisions from Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3 to make that decision, that affects your overall decision choices, like even just what you can choose, you know. And it the synthesis one, and you're finally sacrificed. You're doing the thing that a lot of characters can't do because it's just not written in there, but they just don't do. A good example is Noble Six and Halo Reach. Why I think Halo Reach's campaign, other than Halo One, is the greatest Halo campaign of all time, um, because it just was so. Even Halo 2 was great, but Halo Reach, we knew it was going to happen. We know the end result. We know everybody who dies. But in that game, I genuinely felt like, man, I might be able to pull this off. I might be able to save them. And then obviously you realize you can't. And you get so attached to the characters, and you get so attached to the Mass Effect characters, same thing. But
Yep.
they do the thing that, for example, in Halo World, Master Chief never does. A, because he's just too badass. B, because it's just Master Chief. He has to keep going until he can't. Noble Six makes that sacrifice. He makes the ultimate sacrifice and dies. That last level, Lone Wolf, to this day, is the what I feel is the greatest FPS level of all time. Not just of this generation, or I truly believe that is the greatest FPS level of all time because of the emotion it instilled in you to essentially push you back to the beginning of Halo 1 and for him to make the sacrifice Master Chief could never make. And to play that last level knowing no matter what, if you get hit X amount of times, you're done. And he dies, and he makes that sacrifice to a character you got so attached to that you thought maybe I could do this, maybe I could pull it out, maybe I can succeed, but you can't. But to get that attached shows that they took something that you knew or has already been done before and still got attached to it. Mass Effect, people can say all they want about the gameplay. I'll let you take it. Everybody has different opinions on that. I like the gameplay, but it is a little choppy and it's definitely not that fluid. So some people aren't attracted to it. It's a little it's a little MMORPG, you know, a little tactical and different. But yeah, it was just to have those three choices and space, which is a big deal for me. You know, I love space. I love all that stuff. You know, I think that's where we as a society and a civilization and a culture should be, is in space and all that kind of stuff. But so I had a personal attachment to it, you know, big time. You know, I had a huge attachment to it in terms of what I like in games. Uh, they had excuses for everything. You know, they had a logical excuse and explanation is the word I was looking for, of why the ships could fly like they do, like as if an airplane would flying in space, because they alter the gravity in front of and behind it, so it creates G forces. That's why they turn. That's why there's very minimal sound. That's why there's all these things. And
Yeah.
you know, so to play through all that as long as you can, to work so hard, especially with all the DLC, to work so hard, and to get to that choice, you know, and obviously depending on how you played, you might not even have all the choices. You may only have one, you may have two or three, you may only have, you know, another set of the two or the three. And then to see the ending and everything, and if you get the perfect ending at the very end, when you think all hope is lost because nobody can escape this thing, they start talking about the creators of the universe and, like, you know, cycles, 50,000-year cycles, and the ancients, and then you start talking to the, you know, what the Reapers were designed after. If you ever played that DLC, it was awesome. That was incredible. You know, and then to finally get there, do all that, you get the choices, you get the perfect ending where you get to see Shepard start breathing again at the very last second, which shows that there is a possibility for another one. And then right before the credits, you know, have them, the guy who started telling the story, say, you know, well, that's the end of it. And he goes, well, tell me another one. Tell me another story about the shepherd. Little kid saying that. And then he's just like, well, all right, maybe just one more. Cut to credits. All you want
Oh.
to do is just want to play more, man. That's all they wanted you to do, man. That's all I wanted to do. As soon as that happened, I was like, I just want to play more. Every person I know that, you know, likes that style of game. Obviously, like I said, gameplay is a little hit and miss for people, but likes that style. You know, Scott, Chad, I don't know if you remember Marissa Madrinsky. Marissa, she was, you may or may not have met her. She was you know, she's a huge gamer. She's like the only female gamer I know that's not just like, oh my God, she's like just a regular, she's like one of the bros, but she's not like, obviously, it sounds terrible, but she's not unattractive. That sounds horrible. But,
Right.
and you know, she's huge. She's probably like the only person I know that could go toe to toe with me on those games. And in certain games, she was like, you know, not necessarily skill, but information wise, she knew everything,
Right.
every detail. So yeah,
Well,
dude.
sounds like James. We may, next time we bring you on, we may need to bring her on.
Yeah, man. There's a bunch of us. You know, like I said, our community is really full of, you know, Michael Rowe and all of us. Man, we have a lot of hardcore gamers. Scott Soulsby. If you guys ever want to talk, you know, about competitive gaming, I still have some more time. If you know, I don't know what you guys are trying to keep in times of restrictions, but you know, I'd be more than happy anytime you guys need me to. Just hit me up. We'll be more than happy to sit down and talk about games. Anything really.
All right.
Dude, you've been a great guest.
Yeah, no joke, James. I'm glad you came on. You
Thanks for having me.
some stuff. I'm glad you were able to get your gaming club out there. I mean, it's, you know, we never had anything in South Carolina like that, something concrete that everyone could go to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now we do. We have something that everybody can go to. Everyone can come congregate to and share ideas, and it becomes a real full community of gamers for the South Carolina area. But James, we appreciate you coming on, man. You know, we look forward to have you on again. Maybe next time we'll have you, old Curly, and maybe Marissa. But yeah, man, thanks for coming on.
Not a problem,
We'll be
guys.
glad to see you next time. We'll bring you on next time and kind of find out where your gaming club's at, and try to get some events out there for people to come join online, you know, things like that.
Oh yeah, man, I appreciate having me. We'll be doing lands, you know, for numerous games, Smash Brothers, Destiny, all that kind of stuff. So, you know, stay tuned. We'll let you know what's going on. Maybe we'll see you at one of the lands and go from there, man.
All right, James. Well, thank you very much.
Not a problem, guys. Thanks for having me.
No problem.
Thank
And
you.
we will talk to you very, very soon.
All right, man. Just hit me up. You guys have a great day.
You too.
You too. Bye. Wow, he was a great guest.
Yeah,
I
no
like talking
joke.
to that guy.
Yeah, he's really smart when it comes to video gaming. But hey, let's take a break for a second, and we'll be right back. All right, guys, what's going on? Hey, we're back from the break, but we got a little bit of information for you. We kind of took a little bit longer than a kind of break, more like a 24-hour break, I guess you could say. I'll admit, it's my fault, my bad. Had some stuff going on, but we're back. We just kind of want to finish up talking about a little bit about my boy James and his group. So I give you Alfonso.
Hey, I like how we threw himself under the bus before I had a chance to. Takes the fun out of it.
I'm a fun killer. What can I say? You can ask my wife about that.
But yeah, I mean, what a great guest. I mean, I could have literally talked to him all day about video games. Uh, and maybe when he comes back on, I'll ask him who would win in a fight to the death, no holds barred between Master Chief and Commander Shepard. My money's on Commander Shepard.
I don't know, man. He's gonna say Master Chief.
I'm pretty sure he would have. But what if I had said Master Chief versus Noble Six?
They both die. Noble Six would just blow himself up. That's my opinion. I don't know what he would say.
Yeah, that's why we got to have him back on here. But like I said, great guest. It's probably only going to be downhill from here on out. Watch, our next guest will be like pulling teeth, trying to
Yeah,
get information out of him.
no, yeah, but no, we do have some hopefuls. I did manage to talk to one artist from the Comic Con. He kind of sounded hopeful about wanting to come on with us. I did buy some merch from him today, and I'm going back tomorrow to buy something
That,
else from him.
that's right, folks. Today's Saturday, so we've already been to the Comic Con, and it's over now. The first day, anyway.
Yeah, and we could talk a little bit about that if you want to. Or do you want to save that for the end?
No, let's talk about it now.
I guess while it's still fresh on our minds.
Yeah. We've taken some pictures and posted them to our Facebook page if you want to check that out. Um, I didn't know what to expect considering this was my first con ever, and this was the first Comic Con in South Carolina. Am I right?
Well, actually, they had Comic Con. They had SC Comicon last year, but last year was not this big. It wasn't as big as this year's. This year was like double the size of last year's.
And I think it's only going to get bigger. I mean, in my personal opinion, I mean, the turnout was great today. And I got there late. I got there around 2 o'clock. And it was already, I mean, it was a packed house. Um, just from what I and there were a lot of great cosplayers. I was surprised to see that. I was happy to see that. The only thing, there were a lot of artists. There were more artists than anything. I think this may have been a more of the big names, like people who make personal actors, big name creators. I think they took a wait and see approach. I think you'll see more of them next year.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we did have some big names there. Um, Sorry, guys. I know I know I told you that we tried to talk to um, John Wesley Shipp. Um, yeah, uh, I'm not gonna pay $15 just to have like a 5 minute conversation with him. No, no, thank you.
And
Um,
plus, that guy was busy all day. I
yeah,
don't think he had
he's
time to talk to anybody.
yeah, he had a line. I texted a friend of mine earlier, and he had a line from the time that he got there to the time he did his panel, and then his panel was max. They had people standing in there, and then when he went back to his booth, he had a line waiting on him.
I mean, because I may have been willing to pay $22 for a picture with him, but the line just The line just killed any thought of that,
Yeah, no,
and it never shrunk. So I'm pretty sure he made a nice bit of change today, and he'll
oh
make
yeah,
some more tomorrow.
dude, he's making some now, and he ain't even been on the screen in 2 or 3 weeks. But no, we did. I got to see Chris Burns, who's a cosplayer, Miracle, who is his lovely lady. Um, I got to see Tony Darling, Callie cosplay, but she really didn't do that much. She pretty much just stayed. She was dressed up as Aurora from Sleeping Beauty. Um, and then who else? Sadly, my cosplayer friend did not come. I was really hoping to see her, but she did not show up. But we there was a lot of artists there, man. I mean, a lot of good artists. Um, I kind of wanted to shy away from the people who copy, the people that redo other people's artwork. I was more interested in the people who did their own thing. Their own original series and things like that. Um, but I did get a list of those people, and I will probably try and get in touch with some of them to see if they'd be willing to come on with us.
Hey, did you
Um,
talk to Borderlands?
no, I didn't get a chance to talk to them. I saw him and his wife, the people that own it, but dude, they were so freaking busy. The guy and his wife were running around like chickens with their head cut off. They were just so busy. Um,
You know, you know what though? Not to interrupt you. That's why we got to step up our podcast game because next year we need to have a booth there. I didn't see any podcasters there, so imagine if we're the only podcasters there or the first podcasters to do it.
yeah, now there were a couple vendors there that do podcasting. I talked to a couple of them, and a couple of them do have their own podcast. Now they didn't advertise the fact that they have their own podcast, but they do have their own podcast.
Okay.
So I'm thinking maybe next year we should go have our own booth, do our podcast, you know, do it live, maybe. For those of you who can't go to Comic Con, we'll talk and try to get some people to come by the booth. Um, we'd love to do that. Maybe co-op with Team Densetsu. Maybe share a booth with them. Maybe get James out there. Maybe get Curly, his co-captain. Maybe get them out there with us, and we all four of us podcast the whole event.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
We can do that. But I think next year we should definitely have a booth because, there wasn't really anyone there doing media on the cosplay. I mean, on the cosplay, on the convention, there wasn't really anyone doing media of it. You'll have some news you'll see a little bit on the news, but you won't actually see or hear anything that went on in the cosplay. Look at me, I cannot trade out the word convention for cosplay for some reason.
I
But you didn't see anybody covering the convention.
and as a first-time goer of anything of this sort, I was actually surprised at how smooth it ran. I mean, from the time I pulled into the parking lot, I had no trouble parking. I had no trouble finding the place. I had no trouble parking. You walked into the convention center. I went to will call. She gave me my bracelet, and I walked right in.
Yeah. Let's see. By the time
And
you got in there, though, the line was pretty much done.
yeah,
We got there. We got me and my wife and my sister and her friend and my daughter. We got there about 10:30. The line for will call was not really that long, but we waited about 5-10 minutes to get our bracelets, and then we got in line and we waited about 5-10 minutes to get in the door. Um,
and I and there were some very good amateur cosplayers out there. Some young cosplayers that I see big things for.
yeah,
Um, so if you live within 100-mile radius next year, or even well, the Comic Con will be over by the time you hear this podcast. But if you live within 100-mile radius and you're on the fence about going to the South Carolina Comic Con, I definitely recommend that you do. and make an all-day thing of it next year because it's only going to get bigger.
Yeah. And see, I think that this SC Comicon is going to take away from MonsterCon. MonsterCon's another convention we have in Greenville, but I honestly think that SC Comicon is going to take away from MonsterCon because it was pretty much the same people.
Well, I have a problem with the ticket prices for MonsterCon. I'm t- I'll tell you that right now.
I don't understand how they got away with charging that much. And MonsterCon had just as many people as SC Comicon did.
And paying what I paid for my South Carolina Comic Con ticket for pretty much the same thing, MonsterCon will be a ripoff.
Now,
The only thing about, huh?
Did you go to MonsterCon?
No, I'm not going to MonsterCon. I don't see me paying that much. And then you have to pay for autographs and pictures just as much on top of the ticket prices. I can't justify spending that kind of money right now.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. But no, I mean I was kind of hoping you wouldn't have harsh feelings towards SC Comic Con because it is its second year.
Oh no,
And,
I loved it. I loved it, dude.
no, me and my wife talked on the way home tonight, and me and her agreed that when you think of a convention, you think of stuff like events going on during the day and all sorts of stuff. Well, SC Comic Con, I mean, they really didn't have that much going on during the day. They had Magic tournaments, they had Dungeons and Dragons, they had Pathfinder on one side of the building, and that's where all those people hung out. They never congregated into the convention, really. And you had panels all day long, but you didn't have cosplay events. You didn't have the just random stuff that goes on at other conventions. Like, I'm going to tell you, AWA, for those of you listening that knows what that is Anime Week in Atlanta. And there's a big anime convention in Atlanta. It is huge. It is gigantic. It is a big anime convention. It takes up like 10 square blocks of Atlanta. It is huge.
But the key component to that, it's in Atlanta.
Well, but you get nationally known cosplayers that come to AWA because of its population base. Like, their average attendance is between 15,000 to 20,000 people.
Well, that's what I'm touching on because Greenville, South Carolina. Who outside of South Carolina has ever heard of Greenville? The people that were here today are from the tri-state area. We don't have that national exposure yet until we have this one big thing, or the first one big person shows up. It's like, hey, you know what? I made a lot of money in Greenville. Then the rest will follow. Then another big name will come, and then the big time cosplayers will start showing up.
Yeah, and see, I'm really starting to get worried because, we've got WizardCon right around the corner this summer, and I'm praying that WizardCon does not run SC Comicon out, because WizardCon is a national convention. It is toured through the whole U.S. It is sponsored, so basically they don't have any debts to pay. Everything they do, they pay up front. So after that, they get to decide how much they want to charge. And that's why the tickets for that convention are so expensive.
And that right there is going to run a lot of people off because, like I said, I paid $11.43 for my one-day pass to South Carolina Comic Con.
Yeah, and I paid 16 and some change for a 2-day pass, which I'm not even going to use my second day.
I'm not paying $75 for a one-day pass at WizardCon. There's no way in hell that's going to happen.
No. The $70 is for the whole weekend.
Yeah, well, I'm not paying that. No, not when you're telling me that they're sponsored, so they don't have to shell out any of their own money to put on the event. Now they're just being greedy.
No, they're sponsored by DC. Marvel dumps money into them. Wizard World, which is Magic the Gathering based, they dump money into them. Publication companies like IDW,
Yeah.
all of them, they dump money into it. It's basically just a big advertising firm for these big known national companies that do comic books.
But they don't take on any debt themselves, right?
Not not from what I understand and what I've been told about these different conventions, because if you think about it, they get big names. I mean, Raleigh happened this weekend. The one in Raleigh happened this weekend. And I'm talking, they had David Tennant, they had um, Shatner, they had Stephen Amell, they had
So you mean
they had all these
so
big names, but the TV companies put them out there to go to advertise for them.
so this happened in Raleigh the same time as South Carolina Comic Con,
Yeah,
and South Carolina Comic Con still got the turnout that it had. That
but you got
that's
to think
great.
you got to think Raleigh's almost 5 hours away, so you're going to get population from Virginia and Tennessee. You're not going to get everyone from Charlotte, because Charlotte's still about 2.5 hours away from Raleigh. So
Yeah.
Greenville Comic Con, the SC Comicon is a lot closer than the Raleigh Comic Con. Yes, it was bigger, but at the same time, the people that are an hour and a half, 2 hours away, still probably won't drop that 60, $70 to get in because it's that far away. Why drop that much to get in and have to spend that much in gas when I can just drive an hour, hour and a half to get to SC Comic Con, drop $16 for 2 days and get to see, this. And I'm telling you, the more people come to SC Comic Con, yeah, it's going to get bigger. And yeah, the ticket prices might go up a little bit, but I'm telling you, it's going to be a lot. The content of this convention will be a lot better because it's not going to be about advertising. It's going to be about fun.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to tell you right now, if you go online and look at WizardCon for Greenville, I'm telling you, dude, they charge you for everything. Everything. If you want to get William Shatner to sign something, you got to buy a special pass for that.
Yeah.
And then that's only for an autograph. You don't even get a picture with him. From what I think you might get a picture with him, but I can't remember. But I mean, they have all these big name people coming to WizardCon, but you got to buy extra for that.
Yeah.
You
I
gotta
mean,
pay
so
extra.
I mean, and out of all the big names, just for three big names, you're probably looking at about at the cheapest, you're looking at about $60 just for autographs. No,
Yeah,
for pictures. For pictures, because they charge what, maybe $20 a picture.
something
So
like more. Yeah.
three of the biggest names there. If you just want a picture with those guys, you're looking at $60 right there. That's just gone. And this is on the cheap end of it. I mean, William Shatner, you're probably paying $30 for a picture, at
Oh yeah,
least.
easily. At least easily.
But
Let's see
on top of having a booth there, you know what we ought to do? We ought to
what.
have a contest. We ought to have like a best we ought different categories like best female cosplayer, best male cosplayer, best tandem cosplayer, and we give out like little cheap trophies or something, a little $10 gifts,
Oh yeah, totally.
prizes.
And then I mean, give them a shirt for a podcast,
Yeah.
and then have them on the show. Have the first, the winner and the first two runner ups on the show.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds like fun to me because we can have them on, talk about their cosplay experience, get them, tell us where they're going to be going to conventions this year, which ones they're going to make, hey, if they need support, hey, fans, hey, we'll throw a Kickstarter out there for this person, we'll get them started, we'll try to get them to the convention they want to go to, you know, but I totally agree. That'd be fun. Next year, that would be a lot of fun. And there was definitely room for more people to come. There was a few empty tables. I won't say a lot, but I think I counted about 6 or 7 empty tables that were still available.
Well, there were on top of the empty tables, there was probably still like half a basketball court of space too.
Oh, more than that. And
Yeah.
I think the tabletop gaming area will probably cease to exist over the next 2, 3 years.
You think so?
Yeah, it just didn't. I was talking to one of the staff members, and he said that it just didn't pull what he wanted, what they were expecting, like all the people to pull, because They were hoping that the game workshop place on Woodruff Road would be part of it. They only donated a little bit, and they were only part of a little bit of it, and they really didn't push it too much. So I really think that'll die off. I mean, I enjoy the tabletop gaming and things like that. I haven't really been into it in the past couple of years, but I mean, a Comic-Con, realistically, what is a Comic-Con about? It's about comic books,
Yeah.
comic book characters. Um, but I was a little disheartened though about some stuff that I saw. Um, there were a lot of kids there that were dressing up as characters. And I'll explain to you what I mean. If you're a cosplayer, this is my opinions on cosplay, and I'm probably going to receive a lot of flack on this, but you know what? It is what it is. Cosplayers, to me, are people who put their soul into what they do. They work hard, they make their outfit, they put everything they have into it to try to make it the best they can make it. They do what they can to make this awesome outfit to show you, the people, the viewers, the convention goers, what they can do. And I mean, they're really selling themselves to you just on looks alone and authenticity, or whatever appeals to you. But then you get these people out there that go on eBay and buy their outfit and come and try to play it off like they're some hotshot cosplayer. And they're not. They're not a hotshot cosplayer. They're just some kid who dressed up as a character. I mean, and that's my feelings on it.
How do you know they bought their outfit off of eBay?
What's
the giveaway?
Just the cheap look. I mean, it literally looks like a costume. Because I mean, if you're a cosplayer and you make an outfit, your cosplay is gonna look legit. Like it was really where this character was. Because I mean, you saw those mercs. You saw the Mandalorian mercs. You saw them standing there.
Yeah.
I mean, tell me they did not look like they just got out of a battle.
Yeah, they were legit.
Their kits looked legit. And the clone trooper that was there, his stuff looked real.
Yeah.
Granted, now I'm pretty sure that guy's kit was casted and made specifically for him. But nonetheless, it is a thing handmade. It was handmade by someone. Whether it might have been him, I don't know. I'm not saying it wasn't him, but the 501st was there. They had a few people show up and do things. The clone trooper guy, he was legit. The mercs, which I want to tell you about the mercs. The mercs are not Boba Fett and Jango Fett, and so you saw that today. They are their own Mandalorians. They create their own character. They create their own armor. And that's who they are portraying as themselves. And those kids work hard. Like I know one of them, and I'm friends with him on Facebook. And he is the second person in South Carolina to be approved by the Mandalorian Mercs Costume Club in the Big Nation group. He was the second one in South Carolina to be approved. And he said, he was telling me that. A lot of them weren't there today. I mean, they only had 3 guys show up. And there's like 20 or 30 of them in South Carolina. But, getting back to my whole cosplayer versus costumer. If you really want to be a cosplayer, you really need to attempt to make your own kit. Make your own cosplay. Make your own outfit. Because I really don't think you appreciate if you dress up, if you buy yours off eBay and you go to conventions and you pose for pictures and you do all this stuff, you're taking the easy way out. Really, you're getting this attention for nothing. You didn't work hard to make that outfit. All you did was drop some money on it. I'd rather give the kids whose outfits are less than perfect. The ones that are, you can tell they made it, but it still looks pretty, pretty close. I'd rather give them more attention than the people who bought their outfits online.
Yeah.
Like, okay, here you go. Here's the perfect example. You remember the Ichigo we saw?
Yeah.
He bought his online. I could tell it was cheap fabric. He bought it online.
You mean
Um,
the Ichigo with
the
with
hollow
the
mask. Yeah,
the hollow mask? Yeah.
he bought his online. Had to. That was just too cheap looking. Um, the 13th guard captain
Yeah.
that was bought online.
The one standing over there by the Merc exhibit, the Merc
Yeah,
stronghold or whatever. Okay. Okay.
yeah, that was bought online. I could tell. I mean, if you get close enough to them, and eventually you'll see it. I mean, you'll be able to notice the more you see cosplayers and the more you actually get to look at their stuff. You'll notice when something's actually handmade and when something's bought offline.
How about let me ask you something. Who was the girl with the giant mask on and the giant sword that everybody wanted to take pictures of that was
Oh,
standing behind us?
the Pyramid Head.
Yeah, what is that?
It is from Silent Hill, the video game. It
Okay.
is a enemy character in the game that sometimes will follow you around the different parts of the game and try to kill you.
Okay.
But
Now was
that's
hers homemade?
oh yes, most definitely. That Pyramid Head was definitely homemade.
Okay.
Oh yeah, you can. I mean, and the key to telling if stuff is homemade is because no cosplayer is perfect. You know, their outfits will have something that gives it away that is homemade. Now,
What about
looking
the hot female Thor?
she I'm pretty sure she had that commissioned specifically to her.
Okay. All right.
Um, I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure she did though. Now Chris Burns and Miracle, they made theirs. Um, I know for a fact they made theirs. But I'm telling you, man, you can tell after you've seen them for so long and going to so many different conventions, you can tell who's legit and who's not.
Yeah.
Like the legit people are going to be the ones that are really enthusiastic about getting a picture with you because they're excited that someone is admiring their hard work. The people who bought theirs, they're going to be like, yeah, okay, whatever. You can take my picture. I mean, it's going to be kind of obvious. Um, and that's just me coming from, I've been to I've been to conventions. I have. I went to Animazement 2 years in a row. Um, Now I've been to SC Comicon, MonsterCon. Um, it's very obvious who was legit and who isn't. And here's my do's and don'ts for cosplaying. If you're gonna cosplay, for the love of God, do not cosplay something that is mainstreamed right now. Because you're not going to get the same love and affection as you would if you did something that's not. And what I mean by that is don't cosplay the Arrow, please. Please don't cosplay the Arrow. Dude, how many arrows did we see while we were there?
Honestly, I didn't see any.
Dude, I counted a little kid, and I saw a little kid, and then I saw like four
Dude,
or five arrows.
dude, everything is mainstream. I mean, the Star Wars is mainstream. So the Mercs, Jango Fett, Bubba Fett, that's I saw a lot of those guys. That's mainstream. Sith, that's mainstream. I saw a lot of Marvel characters. I saw a couple of Thors, mainstream.
Now,
I saw a couple of Hawkeyes, mainstream. Cap, Master Chiefs.
I only saw one Master Chief.
Well, the one you saw, yeah, he was seriously Master Chief, but I saw a couple of homemade Master Chief outfits.
Yeah, but no, you misunderstood what I said by mainstream. I totally agree with you on the Captain Americas. Every Captain America I saw was a Winter Soldier. Captain America.
No, that was a traditional Captain America.
Now,
He
was there? I
actually
didn't
opened,
see him.
yeah, he actually opened the door for me when I got to Comic-Con, when I got into the convention center.
Okay. But I
And
mean,
his was
if you're gonna cosplay somebody, do something. Make it yours. Like Chris Burns, he cosplayed Hawkeye today. He did not do the Avengers Hawkeye. He did. Well, I mean, okay, yeah, he did the Avengers Hawkeye, but he did the original Hawkeye, the
well, that was
classic.
Chris Burns.
Yeah, that was Chris Burns who did the original Hawkeye today. I liked that. It wasn't this new Avengers Hawkeye. It was true to his form, his true costume. I like seeing that.
I don't think anybody likes the new Avengers Hawkeye, the Hawkeye from the movie anyway.
I mean, his attitude's the same. I mean, it's the same sarcastic attitude guy, but I think it's because of who's playing him. I honestly think it's because of him, that guy that's playing him.
Oh, Jeremy Rittner.
Yeah,
Jeremy
yeah,
Rittner.
because he just comes off as like a cocky son of a bitch.
Yeah,
He just has that smug look on him all the time.
yeah.
I mean, look at Miracle, who was with him. She
Oh,
did,
Captain Marvel.
yeah. Well, actually,
Very good Captain Marvel, by the way.
it was actually Black Adams.
Black Adam. What do you mean?
Black Adams, Captain Marvel, and Black Adams.
Oh,
No, wait,
okay.
Captain. Hold on, I may be getting my
All
group.
right, you don't know. All right, you don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Captain Marvel is DC, right? No,
No,
Captain Marvel
no.
is
Captain Marvel is Marvel. Now
okay.
DC has Shazam.
Shazam.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me.
There may have been a Captain Marvel DC, but her Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers, that's Marvel. She was Carol Danvers, Marvel, Captain Marvel.
Okay, Captain Marvel. Okay. Yeah, the DC has the Captain Marvel. That's a guy.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of janky though.
What?
That DC and Marvel both have Captain Marvels,
Yeah.
and they're both kind of the same kind of person though.
Yeah.
I mean, they're both kind of similar. Like, both got the
Except
right.
for well, they
Except
were ripping each other off back then, because
well,
Stan
yeah,
Lee once upon a time worked for DC.
yeah.
Then he went out. He went off and started Marvel, and I think they just ripped each other off. I'm gonna I'm gonna look it up later on to see who was created first. But how did they get their powers? I know Captain Marvel, she got her powers in some kind of accelerator explosion, and when her molecular structure was merged with an alien's, and she absorbed his powers. So how did the DC Captain Marvel get his powers?
Uh,
And please,
it
comic
was.
book fans, don't torture me about my information on this.
I can actually explain to you how Shazam got his powers.
Well, it was Shazam, right? That's what I said. Yeah,
Yeah, it's Shazam, otherwise
but
known
they
as
thought,
Captain Marvel.
yeah,
He got his powers from a wizard.
okay, mystical powers.
Right, his
And
powers are given through mystical powers.
he's a little boy in real life, but when he
Right.
transforms, yeah, okay, yeah.
hmm
All right.
Now, yeah, I'm reading something about him right now. Now, from what I understand in this article, uh, Captain Marvel slash Shazam, I think, has been around. It says for 80 years.
Okay.
So I'm thinking maybe.
Now I was surprised there were no Miss Marvels
Yeah, yeah.
or Squirrel Girls.
I'm actually not surprised there weren't any Squirrel Girls. That's just not as common as you would think. It's really not as common as you would suspect. Um, but no, I mean, I don't know, I just a little mixed emotion about that situation, about why they both have the same name. It just doesn't make real much sense to me.
Yeah,
You know,
usually, I mean, if you're a casual comic book fan, it's confusing.
yeah. I mean, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
Because I've always known him as Shazam, and I
Yeah, I
think
mean,
they've gotten. Oh, go ahead.
no, yeah, I mean, I knew what you were about to say. They've gotten more used to calling him Shazam, and I mean, that's true. I mean, that's what everyone, that's his, I guess, mainstream name. That's what everybody calls him now. So, I mean, you know,
And 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 at some point, the Captain Marvel at DC, his name was really Marvel. You know,
yeah,
it was split into two words, Marvel, and he was an alien.
yeah,
And then she finally decided to call herself, well, upon Captain America's recommendation, she started calling herself Captain Marvel.
right.
So look it up, people.
We can't have all the answers.
That's right. And I'll be the first one to admit I don't know everything. I don't even know a lot of things, but I know what I know.
That's why the internet gods created Google.
Or Lugo, if you're in the hot tub time machine time continuum.
Oh man,
Dude, we gotta see that movie so we can review it.
yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. Yeah,
We gotta make America happen, bro.
Jesus.
You're totally not gonna be welcome there, but you should go.
I want to see that movie. I haven't seen the first one though.
Shut the front door.
I haven't seen the first one.
I can't believe you. You need to go watch the first one. You got to
I'll,
watch the first one before you watch the second one.
I'll watch it. I'll watch it. We got it. We got
Although
it.
I'm a little disappointed that the second one doesn't appear to have John Cusack in it.
I don't think it does.
Yeah, that. Well, see, that right there kind of indicates to me that it won't be as good as the first one then, because a lot of that first movie revolved around him.
Right.
So, and plus he's John Cusack.
Yeah.
But dude, it's getting late, and I know you have a sick wife to attend to, and I have a little. My baby girl needs to be walked.
Okay.
But we just wanted to get back to you guys and get another podcast out there because, and I just want to say, we shot up the podcast rankings this weekend on only our second podcast, and we owe it all to you. The reason we do it, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for streaming, for downloading, for tuning in, for liking, for recommending to your friends. If you keep listening, we'll keep podcasting.
Yeah, boy, and that's what will get us to conventions, get y'all more involved. You guys need to message us. I mean, if you honestly want to talk, just message us, man. We have no problem with bringing people on, talk about stuff. Um, I'm thinking maybe next week. What are we gonna do next week for them?
Well, just so you guys know, I've sunk a lot of money into podcast equipment, so we're stepping up our podcast game, guys. We're serious about this. I was just on the phone with my sister before I called you, and
All right.
we're gonna. I'm probably gonna wait till I get everything set up over here, but she's down to do an interview.
Awesome. Awesome. And I think
And
my wife is going to take part too.
your wife's gonna be fun to talk to. I can tell already.
Well, I'm thinking about, bringing her and try to get some female listeners. Trying to give her own little segment, let her do her, her bit on fashion and things like that. Because I mean,
Oh, that'd be awesome.
she's pretty up to know about that stuff. So
That'd be awesome. We like female listeners too.
yeah, we do. We
We
love them.
like gay listeners. We like straight listeners. We like black listeners, white listeners, uh, Latin listeners, Asian listeners. We like all listeners.
Except droids. We don't serve your kind here.
No, we like droids. We like droids.
We don't serve your kind here. Oh man. But guys, hey, listening, while you're, hey, as this is coming to a close, guys, hey, our intros are gonna get kind of funny, kind of stupid as we go through, but we're just kind of trying to build a basis on how we want to introduce every day. And who knows, we may not even get an intro. We may be just doing something stupid every single day when we come in. But if you got any ideas or anything, let us know. Message us on Facebook. Our Facebook.com/talkinglife. Our Gmail, talkinglifepodcast@gmail.com. Twitter, talkinglifepod1, or @talkinglifepod1. Our individuals is at, Alfonso is at future_spaceboy. Mine is at talkinglifecz. Podcast CZ. I can't remember what my Twitter is. At the moment, you'll just have to, I don't know, look back at another podcast where I mentioned it. But no, check us out, guys. I'm probably gonna have this podcast up. I'm gonna try to cut it, edit it, and do everything in tonight and get it podcasted or get it loaded in the same day, so it'll go up on Podomatic today, and then it'll go on iTunes today. YouTube will probably be, I'll put it on YouTube tonight. It'll probably go on tomorrow. So, but yeah, you got anything else you want to say, Alfonso?
We also like Middle Eastern listeners. I don't want to leave anybody out. We like European listeners, Central America listeners, South American listeners, Portuguese listeners, Canadian listeners, African listeners, Australian listeners. I think that was everything. I'm good now.
We like everybody. We
Yeah,
like everybody.
pretty much. Even droids.
Except for the haters. Fuck them. Fuck the haters.
Yeah, but like I said, guys, don't be shy. You have any ideas? I mean, you have anything you want to talk about on the podcast? You have any questions? You need advice? Hit us up.
Please talk to us. We're lonely people. We just like to talk to people. Oh man.
For one email, you can feed a child for 3 months.
For one email, you can feed a child. Oh my lord.
Email us, please.
Please
I'm
send
done.
us some emails, dude. I set up that email. I worked so hard to set that email up, and nobody's emailed us yet. Jesus.
Chill, dude. It's only our third podcast.
Yeah, I know. But we're getting there. But yeah. Next podcast, we will be talking about
my tournament bracket, which has been further destroyed since I made it.
Oh yeah, that worked. That was so funny. Damn it! It lost. Fuck my bracket.
It didn't even last the first game of the tournament. I'm like,
It completely destroyed a whole quarter of his bracket.
Yeah. We'll be talking about current events.
Yeah, I guess I need to do that, huh?
Yeah. And we're gonna Didn't you want to do a restore faith in humanity piece?
Yeah,
For like that.
we can do that next week. I'll try to find something that's pretty good.
There's
You know
plenty of good
what?
stuff out.
You know what? I just saw that thing. I bet you saw it too. That article about the boy who was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. If you haven't, you need to go look at that article. I haven't read it yet, but I have it saved. There was a boy inducted into the Hall of Fame for WWE. He's an 8-year-old cancer patient,
Oh,
and they brought him on, and he got to meet all of his favorite wrestlers and things like that.
that was cool.
Yeah, I might talk a little. I might touch that subject a little bit, but I'll try to find something, guys. I'll try to find something that's good that makes you want to listen, that makes you want to stick around.
All right,
Uh,
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, sorry.
no, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and I'm done. Charles can take us out. You can't
All
change
right,
the world sitting on your couch.
that's true.
Got to
You
get
can't
up,
walk.
get out, and do
You,
something.
you, yeah, you can't walk the dog sitting on the couch either, unless you get a treadmill. But
Oh,
shit, there it was. Nah, but all right, guys. We will talk to you very soon. I guess when will we do our next podcast? Are we just gonna go back to one a week, or are we just gonna do? Because spontaneous podcasts kind of did not work for my household.
yeah. I don't like promising the listeners multiple podcasts and then we only give them one. We'll just plan on one this week, guys. And if you get a second one, it'll just be a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, yeah. Just plan on one. So, but yeah, Comic Con was fun. Saw a lot of cool stuff. Uh, Me and my wife ate at a restaurant today and got sick, which was totally awesome. Me and Alfonso put some pictures up on the Facebooks from the convention. Check them out. Comment. And we will see you guys next time. Thanks for joining us.
See ya.
Talking Life Podcast.